What's up, you guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Today, we are finishing off our full set review of Avengers 60th Anniversary with the Legacy cards. This one, I surprisingly had almost all of the Legacy card characters. I was only missing a couple. I managed to buy and trade for the couple I was missing, except for one. So we have most of them here to show off the figures. I'm still missing a lot of the cards. I'm still working on getting those. But regardless, starting us off, without any further ado, we have AntMan. And this is one of my favorite AntMans. I think I actually had him at like number 5 for Hank Pym. Just in general, I really like this AntMan. All the shifting focus type AntMans from that Age of Ultron set were really cool. But this guy has a really nice legacy card. So he has sideline active when a friendly character named Hank Pym, Wasp, or Giant Man would be KO'd. You may instead replace them with AntMan on click number 4. So that's a really good sideline active trait. Now I will say we don't really have any Hank Pyms in Modern Age. I don't even think we have any in Silver Age. We have a few Wasps in Modern and a few more in Silver. And as far as Giant Man, I believe we only have one in Silver Age, which is pretty crazy. The fact that like almost all of them are Golden Age already is nuts to me. But one of the ones we have in Silver Age for Giant Man is the best, and he's got the retail for 15 points, so definitely worth putting this guy on the sideline if you're playing a Silver Age game. I've always liked that Giant Man as a 15-point retail, and nowadays, if he's KO'd, you can bring this dude off the sideline when he's KO'd to just have another figure, which is really cool. So yeah, you have that. And, even for Modern Age play, we have a few Wasps he can come in off the sideline for. So any of those type of sideline active traits are always really good. Anyway, he's got Charge, Sidestep, and Stealth. And then free, choose an adjacent character. That character gains tiny size or giant size until the beginning of your next turn. So that's really cool. I do like that a lot. That is pretty much exactly what he used to do and exactly the reason I like to play him. However, he used to be 100 or 50 points, so they just cut his points in half. He's now 50 or 25, which is much better, much more economical. Improved movement characters. You've got, for 50 points, some Poison, Combat Reflexes, and Exploit. But of course, 25 points is probably where it's at for that cheap Perplex. And the ability to just free make somebody giant or tiny size is really good. Just to see over other characters, or to get the +1s from range, defense, and that kind of thing. Yeah, he's really cool. I really like this one a lot. This is actually one of my favorite legacy cards of the bunch. For a cheap 25 points, you can alter the sizes of some characters. You got a cheap Perplexer there, or you can just toss him on the sideline if you happen to be playing Wasp or somebody. So he's really good, and I think he's even better in Silver if you happen to be using Giant Man for 15 points, because then he could come in for even cheaper than 25. So yeah, I like him a lot. I think this is a really good example of a great legacy card because it keeps almost exactly the same effect that the character had, just cuts their points in half and adds an additional trait that makes them even better. It makes them, actually really worthy of a legacy card. So great job on this one. But up next, we've got Miss Marvel here, the Skrull Miss Marvel. And I know back in the day, she was quite a monster, a little bit before my time, but I know she was quite a monster with like the hypersonic and stealth combo, and some top dial outwit and like the super strength, so she could just hypersonic in, do a ton of damage, go back into some hindering for the stealth and outwit stuff, etc., etc. So yeah, she was really strong back in the day. Nowadays, even with the much reduced point cost, 145 is probably way too much. Anyway, she's got a trait here that says adjacent opposing characters have a maximum defense value equal to Miss Marvel's printed defense value, which is fine. That's really good for the 50-point line, I'd say. But for the 145, it makes it easier for her to hit with her hypersonic if she's actually running in there and punching them. 10 on a 17 that way, no matter what, so not bad. So I would say that that's pretty great. It makes it easier for her 10 to hit a 17, or for her 8 attack to hit a 15. Regardless, you only need like a 7 to hit that way, which is average. So that's pretty useful. And just, parking her next to a team, giving them all 15 defense, making it super easy for your own friendly characters to run up there and hit. It's pretty great. There's a lot of like 18, 19 defenses now on average. A lot of like 19 to 20 defend type characters, which is getting pretty crazy. So just dropping them down to a 15 could be really useful. Then she gets Close Combat Expert, Hypersonic Speed, Plasticity, and Stealth. So she adds a little Close Combat Expert there. I don't think that was part of her trait or her movement power originally. That helps out her attack some, as well as her damage quite a bit too. So hypersonic in there, if you actually punch them 11 for 5, they're only going to have a 17, so that's pretty great. And you can go, plasticity to break away and go hide in stealth and outwit them. So, she's not terrible for 145. She's got pretty good dial length there. But if they do manage to see through the stealth, they're going to tear her apart. And if she can't quite reach them with hypersonic or charge, making range attacks is really not worth it with her really low attack values. Again, I just don't think 145 is quite worth it, but you could kind of pull it off. There's probably just better characters at that point value. But like I said, she could get in there and get some big damage in, and she's kind of fun. I do think she has some potential on the 50-point line. Like I said, just run up there, give everybody a 15 defense, and maybe you kind of just YOLO rush her in there, get a big energy explosion on the whole squad of opposing characters that have 15 defense or something. She would have to take a click after her toughness if you did something like that. But I don't know. She is interesting, though. It reminds me of the Black Leopard Prime, who could, make everybody's stats maximum his stats, which was great. And she's, that was within 6 and line of fire, though. The cool thing about hers is it doesn't need line of fire, just adjacency. So there's some pros and some cons to that, but overall, I'd say she's a pretty fun legacy card. Up next, we have the Wasp from Chaos War. I was actually glad to see this one get a legacy card. This is one of my favorite Wasps as well. I think I just had her as an honorable mention because 77 points is a lot nowadays. She got a new legacy card now. I don't have the card yet, so I'll put it on screen for you. So they cut her points almost in half. She's now only 40 points. Avengers team ability helps out her attack some. 6 range, double target, 9 movement, running shot, flight, 10 attack with a special Incapacitate that when she uses it after resolutions, deal each hit character 1 penetrating damage for each action token on them, which is actually pretty great. If you pick your targets just right, she'll get that +1 attack from Avengers TA, so 11 on 2 targets. If they both already had at least 1 action token on them, she'll give them that second token, and then she'll deal them each hit character 1 penetrating for each action token on them, so they'll each take 2 penetrating, which would be pretty great. So for 40 points, she has the potential to give out 2 action tokens and 4 penetrating damage per attack she's making, in the ideal scenario, right? But even without the perfect situation, she could be dealing like 2 penetrating, giving couple tokens, 1 token and dealing 1 or 2 penetrating, it's pretty nice regardless. Otherwise, she does just have a 3 damage, so she can do a decent amount of damage there. And she has leadership, which is nice. So if you don't have some other leadership on your team, you got a cheap 40-point leadership there. And 17 super senses with tiny size. Gives her 18 from range. Not bad. This one's another good example of a legacy card done right, in my opinion. That special attack power is very similar to the one she already had in the past. All he did was cut her points in half, tweak her special power a little bit, make it a little bit better, and all of a sudden she's just playable again, which is awesome. So another good job on this one, I'd say. Up next, we have the Hulk here from Avengers Assemble originally. And I really always liked the sculpt on this one. It's, pretty cool, big Hulk sculpt, big action punching pose, really cool. So I always liked the sculpt on this one. However, I was never a fan of the original dial. It had some weird stuff where you basically had to swap him to Bruce Banner and for him to come, and then he comes back. I don't know. This one does it much better, in my opinion. It was just kind of weird and clunky before. This version really maximized its potential, I think. So take a look at his new updated card here. He's now only 100 points. He used to be 185, which that was another reason I felt he was overcosted even in his time. But for 100 points, you know, that takes off quite a bit, so he's not too bad now. He's got improved movement, destroys blocking, a trait that once per game when he would be KO'd, instead turn him to click number 11, protected pulse wave. So this is why I think they really did that extra click number 11 thing a lot better. Again, I don't remember exactly how it worked before, but there was some weird way you had to get to it, and something, you're like once per game you could just choose to go to it, and then he could go back to full health or something. Or like click number, a certain click number. I don't remember, like I said, exactly. I don't feel like looking it up now. But anyway, when he would be KO'd, so they got to get through his whole entire 7-click dial full of like invincible, impervious, invuln, etc. Not too high defense values though, but pretty good attack and damage values, especially on that last click. The last click is nuts. But anyway, once he is KO'd after they get through all that, then he turns to click number 11, so he goes back into Bruce Banner, basically. So the special defense and damage powers that he has as Bruce Banner is when he would take damage, instead turn him to click number 4, Protected Pulse Wave. And then he also has Outwit, Perplex, and Probability Control, and the standard damage symbol, and Safeguard, Outwit. So that's nuts, plus Stealth. So, you know, you could park him in Stealth somewhere. He could just be Outwit, Perplex, and Probbing. And you know, your opponent has to kind of run out of their way to deal with that, because that's probably pretty annoying. And that's 100 points sitting there, and then he goes back to click number 4, which is a pretty solid click to be on, and then they have to get through another like 4 clicks of health. So this dude has 7 clicks with kind of a pseudo stop click there that makes him Bruce Banner for a minute, and then he goes back to click number 4, giving him another 4 more clicks of health. So that's a grand total of like 12 clicks with like a weird stop click kind of thing in the middle. I think that gives him a lot of life, a lot of dial to have to, you know, get through. And, I didn't even look at his special movement power. Charge, Flurry, Plasticity. Starting off with that is great. I think that's much better than what he had originally. I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't, I don't think it was that. Charge, Flurry, Plasticity is a great, you know, just starting movement power. You got 10 attack, 4 damage. Avengers TA, so he could potentially get 11 attack on the right targets there by himself. Defenders TA too. I don't think he did not originally have the Defenders TA. So, you know, playing with another person with Defenders really helps those low defenses that he has. In my opinion, this is another great legacy card because it took a figure that I didn't even personally like that much. I actually had to go out of my way to get this guy back again because I think I'd sold him years ago. But yeah, they made him actually useful, and I'm glad because like I said, I always liked the sculpt on this Hulk. It was a very cool one. I always wanted to like it. But you just felt overcosted. It was too clunky to use. Really hit the nail on the head with this one is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, this one's now one of my favorite Hulks. He's like a lot harder to get through. He has a lot more damage potential with the charge, flurry, and everything. Again, you know, go through blocking, all that kind of cool stuff. So yeah, I really like him a lot, and I want to try him out. He looks like a lot of fun. Up next, we've got Captain America, another one I have the card and figure for, thankfully. Now, I did just talk about this guy recently in my top 5 Captain Americas for 2023 edition. So I like this one a lot, obviously. He made the list. He was in my top 5, around 4. Yeah, I put him at 4, I'm pretty sure. So he's pretty good. Mainly, he has a lot of damage potential. So he's got Captain America begins the game with the shield token. When he has a shield token, modify his combat values by +1. And then you have free, remove the shield token from Captain America and place it in a square within 4 squares in line of fire. At the beginning of your turn, return the shield token to Captain America. And then on his other specials here, you got Flurry, Giant Reach 2. When Captain America makes a close attack, he may target opposing characters as if he occupied the square the shield token occupied. So like I had mentioned in my top 5 video, one of the cool things you can do with that is like free, place the token over there somewhere, charge real far away, and then he can actually still, you know, giant reach through that as if he occupied that square, right? So yeah, pretty cool. And you can flurry too, so you can get a lot of damage in. With the +1 all combat values, he's rocking 9 movement charge +1. He could charge for 6 squares with a 12 attack, 19 defense, and 4 damage with giant reach and flurry. And then with the Avengers TA, you could get another +1 on attack. Defenders TA is great because after that first click, his defense goes down pretty hard, so you really need to keep a defender nearby to help him out. But yeah, I really like this Captain America a lot. Really fun, can do a lot of damage. Would be nice if they had added like a traded leadership or something, because I always felt like he was missing a little leadership on those first couple of clicks there to really make him feel like a full-on Captain America. But regardless, this is one of my favorite Captain Americas from back in the day, one of the coolest sculpts from back then for sure. So I'm really glad they gave him a legacy card, and I think they did a great job on this one. Up next, we got Iron Doom here. And I'm really glad they gave this one a legacy card, just for the cool factor. I always loved this figure. I actually played him quite a bit back in the day, because back then we really didn't get any Doctor Dooms. It was back in the times of, somebody else owns the rights to the Fantastic Four, so we're not getting any Doctor Dooms. We barely got any X-Men. We didn't get any Fantastic Four. This was the closest thing to a Doctor Doom we got in a long time. So it was really nice. And I'm also a huge Iron Man fan, so of course anytime they fuse Iron Man and Doctor Doom, it's one of my favorite figures, and this one was no different. However, he used to be like 200 points. He was 200 points, so he's now 125, so they took off almost half, like a good 75 points off him. Is pretty nice. He's got the Doom team ability there, so of course now that used to make him wild card, but now it gives him some healing whenever a standard character is KO'd. Opposing character anyway, which is actually kind of nice because he could use a little bit of that. But he's got this cool trait here. It says when an opposing character within range would heal, they instead heal 1 click less. So that's kind of nice. There's a lot of healing going around nowadays from random effects. So it can be, it can come up for sure. And he does have a long 8 range. So if you park him somewhere in the middle of the map, odds are it's going to stop somebody from healing something. Then on his defense, he's got Invincible, Mastermind, Shape Change, Protected, Pulse Wave, and Outwit. So they can't Pulse Wave him off that click because the Invincible, and they can't Outwit it. So very powerful effect. You can just Mastermind damage away, or he might Shape Change it away. He's got a very, very powerful defense power there. And then, you got 8 movement running shot with 8 range, 12 attack for 4 damage. Not bad at all. He's got some good damage there. And he's got Outwit and Perplex on his damage value, or damage power. And it says, when Iron Doom uses either, the duration doesn't end until he uses that power again, or this power is lost. So if they actually Outwit that power, because they can Outwit the damage power, just not the defense power. So if they Outwit that, the duration ends, obviously. Or if he chooses to use it again on something else, then it ends. But otherwise, he can just say, I'm going to Outwit, your running shot, and you can never use running shot again until he does until he Outwits something else. So that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, honestly, you could just keep outwitting it every turn. Usually every turn you want to Outwit something else, but meh, I don't know. It's kind of cool, I guess. The Perplex 2 also, doesn't end, so I guess that could come up. You could Perplex up one of your friendlies that runs out there and does something, and even if he's no longer within range and line of fire of them, they still get that attack perplexed up or defense perplexed up or whatever you did to him, and that stays that way because it doesn't end until he chooses to do something else. So that's kind of nice, but really I just like that special defense power and, long dial. So even if he does finally get hit off of that, it's going to be a little while before, those last few clicks too, he has that. So it gives him a lot of survivability. And I don't know, I mean, he's a lot of points, really his only downside, but I feel like he can stay alive pretty easily. He does get a little bit of healing from the team ability, and I don't know, he's fun. I do feel like they kind of missed the mark a little bit, because if I remember correctly, his damage power used to be something like Outwit that didn't need range and line of fire or something. Like he could just Outwit something basically across the map, and you couldn't really do anything about it. I I don't remember. I have to look him up again now because I didn't pull out his card, just the figure. But yeah, I feel like he did something like that, and I feel like the damage power isn't quite as cool as that used to be. Adding on the can't be healed heal one click less thing is kind of nice, but again, that doesn't really come up a whole lot, but it can really suck if they like roll regen and they only roll a 1 or 2, then they're not healing anything. If they try to get steal energy, they won't heal, so that could come up, I think, actually, somewhat. But I don't know, regardless, he's Iron Doom. I'm a big fan of him, so I am glad they gave him a legacy card. I'll probably try him out at least once or twice for fun. I don't think he's going to be winning worlds or anything crazy, but he's a fun figure. Up next, we've got Iron Man and War Machine. And I totally called this one. I don't know, I just felt like with them giving us all these other random duo figures, like the Loki and Thor, the World's Finest, the Hal and Sinestro, yada, yada, yada. They've given us a lot of duo figures recently, so I was just waiting. I knew in one of these sets they were going to give us an Iron Man and War Machine. I'm kind of surprised it was this one. I kind of thought it might be the original version from Web of Spider-Man, but regardless, this one's really cool too. So we'll take a look at what they can do. Unfortunately, I don't have the card yet, but I am definitely going to get it because it looks like fun. Now, they used to be 265 points. The card now makes them 180 points, so it knocked off a good like 85 points there, which isn't too bad. They have, what I really like here is the 9 range triple target, 10 movement running shot with flight, and 11 with energy explosion, 18 impervious, 4 damage. Avengers TA, so they could potentially get to a 12 attack pretty easily on their own. Improved targeting for hindering and adjacency is great. Definitely comes up. Stealth is really annoying. They've got a trait that, pretty much all of these new Legacy card duo figures have, that when they are KO'd by an attack before removing them from the game, you may generate a character named Iron Man and or a character named War Machine on their last clicks, then heal them 2 clicks. The total points of the generated characters must be equal to or less than Iron Man and War Machine's point value. Protected Pulse Wave. This is one of the main reasons also that I'm really annoyed that the War Machine in the set was 95 points. Like, you really wanted to make him over half the points of this guy. If he was 75 or even 80 points, it would have been okay, because you still could have generated the rare War Machine from this set and like the rare Prime Iron Man from this set for 100, and that would have been just a great, 2 characters to pop out. As is, the only War Machine we have in modern age is the current rare one from this set, and that eats up so much of this dial, or, point value, it's a little more than half. So it sucks. It doesn't give us as many options for Iron Man to choose from. Now in Silver Age, that's not as much of a problem. We got a lot more War Machines to pick from, although there are even more points, actually, now that I think about it. So, meh, whatever. They're better, though. I don't really like this War Machine as much for 95 points. He's really great on the sideline, though. Actually, putting that War Machine on the sidelines in case this duo gets, takes a hit is great. You pop in that War Machine and it helps them out quite a bit. That's really the only situation where you'd want to own 2 of the rare War Machines from this set, if you really want to use this guy, because you can bring one in off the sideline, and then when they're KO'd, you can bring in another War Machine and an Iron Man also. So, that's something to think about, I guess. But regardless, the next thing they have here is Reactor at full power, which gives them willpower but succeeds on a 3 through 6. And when Iron Man and War Machine uses it and succeeds, they may also heal 1 click. So this is crazy. I like this because it's similar to what that effect used to do, but it's much better because it used to let them like take an action when they had 2 tokens, but then they took an unavoidable damage and they couldn't use that trait again next turn or something like that. So it could let them take basically 3 turns, like 3 actions in a row, like 3 turns in a row. They could do something before they finally had to clear at the cost of, taking an unavoidable. Something like that, if I'm remembering correctly, which was pretty nice, but this is much better. Willpower on a 3 through 6, and when they succeed, heal a click. So they're going way more often and actually healing from the willpower. So it makes me want to equip them with the Super Soldier Serum to give them a 2 through 6 willpower. Basically succeeds on anything but a 1 would be amazing. And, basically means they're going every turn and they're healing almost every turn. So that would be really cool. They also have Energy Shield Deflection that's protected Outwit as another trait, which just kind of helps their defense a little bit overall. and then you have special movement power in the middle of their dial that gives them hypersonic, and when they use it after resolutions, they may make an attack. That would be amazing if it was top dial. That would make them actually so much better. As is, for 180 points, they're maybe a little overcosted still, but I think they are pretty great. The 9 range triple target energy explosion that can see through hindering. Nowadays they're easily shooting you in your starting area just by running, shotting up, and taking a range action. They could also carry somebody with like shield TA with them or something, just to give them like that 10 range with just like a little bit of perplex or TK or something. 1 TK, they're already definitely shooting you in your start area. A couple perplexes, and they could reach you in your starting area. So that's really cool. I don't know. I like them a lot. I do almost wish they were 200 points just so I could bring in the 200 point Iron Man super rare from Avengers Forever. But regardless, I like them a lot, and I'm definitely going to try them out, and I really want to get their legacy card. They look like a lot of fun. Probably not meta-worthy, unfortunately, but a super fun figure nonetheless. And again, I think this is another great example of a legacy card, taking a figure, cutting its points down, improving what they already did, and not changing too much. So good job on this one as well. All right, up next we have Thor Odinson, the super rare from Mighty Thor originally. A great set, one of the best sets for Silver Age. The introduction of equipment, and it had some of the best Colossals of all time that already have a bunch of legacy cards. So great set he's from. And he was one of my all-time favorite Thors. I think actually the original title character version of him still is one of my all-time favorite Thors. He was in my top 5. I did that list a long time ago. I probably need to update that one soon. But regardless, this one is coming in at 160 points. Now, he used to be 175, so they only knocked off like 15 points, which he's not that old, so I guess that makes some kind of sense. He does have Avengers team ability now, which he actually didn't used to, I guess. So that's nice. With the new team ability, he gets that +1 attack. 7 range, 11 hypersonic, 12 attack with super strength, 19 with invincible, 4 damage. Really great stats, top dial there. Avengers team ability can get him up to a 13. But yeah, then you got trait Lightning Strike. When Thor Odinson takes a range destroy action after resolutions, he may use Pulse Wave as free, as if he occupied a square that had debris markers placed in it that action. Okay, that would be really cool if he started with Running Shot, or maybe part of that trait also said when he uses Hypersonic, he could take a range destroy action. As is, that's really only going to be if he's already sitting there and chooses to shoot something, or when he gets to the random 2 clicks in the middle of Running Shot. So that's kind of a nice trait, but it's just kind of hard to pull off, effectively. But if you can pull it off, it is pretty powerful, especially with all, the fact that you can just place terrain and stuff now. You could put a piece of blocking somewhere near their starting area, I guess, and just move up, and then like next turn, actually, I guess you could kind of pull that off maybe with the rare Falcon, move him into position, right? Then he just takes a shot at it with the 7 range, blows it up, pulse waves everything. Yeah, that might be something, because pulse wave as if he occupied a square that had a debris marker placed in it is pretty nice, and it's going to be 4 range pulse wave from that debris marker, so not bad. Pulse wave's great. It only does 1 damage, but still great. Anyway, then you have when Thor Odinson clears 1 or more action tokens, give all opposing characters within range an action token. But 7 range is really far, and give all opposing characters within range an action token whenever he clears. That is actually pretty strong. Once he's actually up in there in the fight, you just kind of have to, clear. Once he takes the time to clear action tokens, giving everybody an action token is really going to offset the tempo of your opponent's team. Having to mentally think about that is probably just trying to remember that trait yourself when you use him is probably the hardest thing. And because your opponent probably is not going to think about that when they're playing. I almost guarantee they're not going to think, oh no, he's going to clear next turn, and then all my people are going to get double tokened and I'll have to clear. That's probably not something they're going to remember. So as long as you can remember to do it, that could really come in handy. And like I said, I feel like if you had like some double TK action or a Falcon or somebody to get him out there to the point where he could make a ranged attack after you've precisely placed a square of blocking terrain near your opponent's area. And it could be a big hunk of blocking terrain too, because as long as he can destroy it with 4 damage, you know, you could shoot one end of it and it could be 2 or 3 squares long, and you could choose the other end of it where the debris marker is placed to use the pulse wave from. So and you don't even have to get that far out there to be able to use that range destroy action to free pulse wave. Just don't forget about first turn immunity and all that. But it could be a great way to run up in there and get a quick pulse wave off on some people. So, you know, honestly, I didn't love this guy. I think I still like the title character a little bit more, but he does have some cool and interesting tricks. You know, I honestly didn't like him that much my first time looking at him, but now that I'm looking at him again, you know, I'm thinking of a little more ways to use him, and I think he could be okay. Although I would say that it would be really nice if they knocked off a few more points. 160 is still a lot. A nice even 150 would have been nice. 125 would have been cool too. You know, 100. I don't know. I feel like they could have knocked off some more points. But regardless, he's all right. Up next, from the Captain America set, we've got Squirrel Girl. And I'm actually so glad they gave this figure a legacy card. I wanted her for the longest time. Squirrel Girl, you know, for those of you that don't know, is probably the most powerful character in all of Marvel Comics. She's literally defeated everybody single-handedly with an army of squirrels. So, it's just really cool. I always wanted this figure, and I managed to snatch this up as soon as we saw that it was getting a legacy card. So I was happy to just actually have an excuse to buy it finally. And this legacy card does not disappoint. 35 points now. She used to be 59, so they cut her points almost in half again. Starting with stealth, combat reflexes, and exploit weakness. She's got the Avengers team ability for that +1 attack, which helps because her attack's pretty low. Her defense is pretty low too. You know, she doesn't have a lot of very good stats, but for 35 points, she's got 6 clicks of health, which is pretty long, and the stealth combat reflexes combo is great. But she's got a trait, Tippy Toe. Squirrel Girl modifies her combat values by +1, and can use super senses if her Tippy Toe bystander is not on the map. Free, generate a Tippy Toe bystander max 1. The cool thing is, you know, she can keep regenerating that Tippy Toe bystander over and over and over again if it was to be KO'd or something. And, you know, as long as it's not on the map, +1 all stats, and super senses is great. Gives her, you know, actually pretty decent stats especially for the points. That way she'd be an 11, 17 with combat reflexes, 3 damage, potentially 12 attack with the Avengers team ability. But yeah, only stealth kind of sticks her there. Regardless, she also has support, and when she uses it, she may choose friendly characters adjacent to her Tippy Toe bystander, regardless of adjacency. So the really cool thing is she can sit in your starting area in stealth, free, pop out a Tippy Toe. Tippy Toe can just run out there, and then she can power action to use support through the Tippy Toe bystander. Really makes me want to equip her with the Indigo Tribe ring, so that gets her another +1 on the support roll. You know, she can do more healing, and if she has to, she can take a power action to pop out some bystanders, some more bystanders. You know, some of the lantern construct things, like a stop sign, just a barrier around her, keep her safer, or something like that. Anyway. So that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, the Tippy Toe bystander itself has 8 movement hypersonic, 11 attack precision strike for 1 damage, and 16 with super senses. So it actually can be a decent attacker on top of everything. Once it runs out there and, you know, she uses support to heal somebody, then it could just hypersonic and attack somebody else, you know, on the next turn. And she can just keep throwing those things out there because there's no once per game thing on that. So yeah, this Squirrel Girl is amazing. I definitely want to put her as the medic on my Avengers teams, and I really need to track down that legacy card, but she is definitely one of the better ones for sure. Up next, we have the coolest legacy card they've ever done. I don't care that it's not super amazing Mediteria. I wish it was. However, I love this figure so much. You know, Avengers Prime, you know, of course, the 3 biggest and baddest Avengers ever except for maybe like Hulk or something, I don't know. But you got Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor all on one Heroclix dial. Back in the day, you know, these guys were just so much fun. They could like attack 3 times in a turn, and they had some crazy special powers, and one of the coolest freaking sculpts of all time. So I will say I was a little disappointed with the Legacy card, but I'm just glad to get one at all. So I plan to definitely track down the Legacy card, even though it's kind of expensive. I'm kind of glad they're not super crazy meta-worthy, or else this card would be way more expensive. So I'm going to still try and get it and play it for fun because, like I said, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm so glad they did finally make this a Legacy card because it definitely deserved one of the coolest figures of all time, in my opinion. But taking a look at what they can do here, so they now start out at 300 points. They used to be 400, so they knocked them down 100 to at least be played in a 300-point modern game. But they have a trait, a day unlike any other. When Avengers Prime is KO'd by an attack, before removing them from the game, he may generate a character named Captain America and or Iron Man and or Thor on their last clicks, then heal them 2 clicks. The total points of the generated characters must be equal to or less than Avengers Prime's point value, protected pulse wave. The great thing about that is it just says generate a character named so-and-so. It doesn't say from your sideline. It doesn't say replace them, you know, etc. So they don't have to be on your sideline. They don't have to be in the game at all. It's generated from outside the game. So technically you can bring in all of the Prime Avengers figures in this set. You know, the Thor Prime, the Captain America Prime, and the Iron Man Prime total up to, let's see, 150 for Thor, 100 for Iron Man, and 45 for Captain America. Brings us to 295 points. So yes, you can bring out all 3 of them at full power and be just under the point values for this guy. Of course, they will be on their last click healed up too, so they'll each only have 3 clicks. But all 3 of those primes working together is pretty insane. We already looked at all of them in the rares and super rares, so if you didn't see them, you can go back and take a look there. But with Captain America, he can be rolling leadership and willpower every turn, and every time he succeeds at one of them, he can heal a friendly character that shares a keyword 1 click, so you can potentially start healing them up. Only downside is that Thor and Iron Man both have really good effects that are at the beginning of the game. If it was when they started the game, that would be insane. If only it was when they started the game, Iron Man would give everybody an armor token, and Thor would be able to choose a team ability that they would be able to reduce an extra, or they would get -1 damage when attacking Thor and adjacent friendlies, which would all combo up to be some pretty crazy stuff and make them all really hard to KO. But it doesn't quite work out that way. But regardless, there's still really good versions of the characters to bring in. I mean, we also got other versions. We got legacy card versions. We got common versions. So you got a million different versions of those 3 you could mix and match to bring in if you wanted to. I just think why not use the primes, because that's so much more fun. Avengers Prime turning into 3 Prime Avengers. You know, I feel like they definitely did that for a reason. But then you have Avengers Assemble on their movement power, running shot, sidestep, free, make an attack. So that's pretty great with 8 range triple target, 12 movement, 13 energy explosion, 19 impervious, 6 damage. You know, 300 points is a lot, but hey, you could literally just running shot. They have almost enough reach on the new smaller maps to actually be able to hit in their starting area. If anybody even like so much as sidesteps out, they're going to be able to running shot you. So that's something to think about. And then free, make, and attack. Oh, they actually have sidestep. Yeah, so they could sidestep and then running shot and hit you in your starting area, and then free, make, and attack, potentially dealing 12 clicks of damage with the 2 shots. So, I mean, hey, that's something. With a 13 attack, 14 attack, potentially Avengers TA, pretty good odds of hitting. So yeah, I actually kind of liked him a lot at 300 points. But you could also energy explosion and then make an attack for 6 damage, so you could spread out the damage a little bit more or something. But regardless, then they go into their special attack power, which gives energy explosion, penetrating psychic blast, precision strike, and quake. So you get penetrating energy explosion and precision strike on top of that for super senses, and then quake, which also combos with the precision strike. So Pretty good combo there. And then on their damage power later, they get stop, but only the first time this power is revealed each turn. Avengers Prime can reduce penetrating damage. I don't like that. I wish it was just stop. There are enough points. I wish it said something like unless they're at 300 points, because then you should just be able to stop every time you don't have anything else going on in your team. But anyway, it is nice to have a stop click and can reduce penetrating. So they at least have basically invincible instead of invulnerable on those clicks. But then they also do have a 180 point line that starts off on click number 4 with the 11 movement running shot, 12 attack, with the special attack power, 18 impervious, and 5 damage. That used to be a 300 point line, now it's 180. So it is probably a lot better to use them at 180. Again, they'll have almost enough reach to get over across to the starting area, but at least you have a lot more points to work with this time. You can perplex up their range or something so they can, just running shot over and hit in the start area. But yeah, I mean, you at least get the cool energy explosion penetrating combo to start out with. And you get immediately they hit a stop click right after their first click, which I guess is why they didn't want it happening more than once per turn. I don't know. I mean, they only have flurry on that click with penetrating blast, so that doesn't really combo very well. I don't know. They're really a fun figure. I'm just really glad they got a legacy card. Even if, like I said, they're not super duper meta worthy, they're super duper fun, and I really want their legacy card, and I really want to play them. So on to the next figure, because I think I probably talked enough about them. Up next, we have Nick Fury. He is an old school, unique Nick Fury. He used to be 62 points. He's now 40 points. He's got shield team ability and 6 range double target, stealth, 10 attack, 16 defense, 2 damage with leadership. Nothing too crazy there, but he does have 7 clicks of life, which is pretty long for 40 points. Leadership and Perplex traded. If Nick Fury can already use Leadership, when he uses it, he succeeds on a 4 through 6. When Nick Fury uses Leadership and succeeds until your next turn, other characters can't increase their action totals. So I've already seen a lot of hate for this Nick Fury. I don't think he's too bad, if I'm being honest. 40 points, you get Shield TA, Leadership on a 4 through 6, and Perplex. And he's got stealth to at least kind of stay hidden in the back. All you do is just roll leadership every turn. You got 50-50 odds of making it so your opponent can't increase their action totals. So you definitely have at least 4 actions, and they cannot do more than 3 on average in a normal game. So I think that does have some potential. We were all freaking out about Spider-Man 1776 that could, turn down action totals, right? And I realize this isn't quite as good as Spider-Man 1776 because he can actually force them down into 2 action total. This just can't increase it past 3 regardless, and you only got 50% chance of pulling that off every turn, so it's not like super duper consistent every turn. But yeah, I mean, it's still good, and you still got Shield, TA, and Perplex, and I mean, he's not really the one that should be masterminded onto, but you should mastermind onto him because he's got 7 clicks of life. He does get into some outwit there, so he could also still be doing some stuff. I don't know. I mean, he could definitely, I think he would have been really, really good. If he was like 20 or 30 points, he would have been really good. 40 is just a little too much. He's just a little overcosted still. Regardless, I like what they did with him, and I think it's pretty interesting. So overall, he's a huge, adjustment on what he was. And overall, he's just a huge improvement on what he used to do. So in my opinion, I would say he's all right. Next is the only one I don't have the figure or the card for, and that's Loki. An old unique Loki from, I think, Mutations and Monsters. But yeah, this dude is pretty great. 85 points. I don't know how much he used to be this time, but he's got Minions of Doom, so he can be healing up as, characters get KO'd. He's got Mystics, which is always nice. 8 range, double target, 12 movement with phasing, 12 attack, penetrating blast, 16 invuln, 3 damage with prob. His defense is pretty terrible the whole time. His attack does drop halfway through his dial pretty bad. His damage is fairly consistent. And yeah, I don't know, 8 range double target is pretty good. Improved targeting hindering is very nice. A trait that gives him sidestep and shape change and super senses and stealth. So that one trait right there gives him so much. You got double rollouts, stealth, sidestep. That's insane. When Loki rolls a single d6, increase the result by +1. Like, what? What, you got 4 through 6 on your shape change and your super senses? That is insane. If you could find a way to give him like willpower or something, he could have a 4 through 6 willpower every turn. Anytime he rolls a d6, you get to increase it by +1. So you could equip him with any of the swords from X of Swords, and he gets +1 to the roll. Yeah, just a lot of crazy stuff going on there. That one trait right there adds so much value to him. It is insane. His other trait gives him mind control, and when he uses it, modify attack +1 for each action token on the target. I mean, do you really need it? on the later dial, sure. But he's just got traded mind control with an 8 range double target that can see through hindering with a 12 attack that gets +1 attack for each action token on the target. So very good odds. Always got prob top tile too. So you're definitely going to hit with your double target mind control. And you could also just shoot with penetrating blast if you wanted to do damage. But I think, honestly, this is like one of my favorite Lokis ever. So I really got to track down the figure and the card. Because I got to try him out. He looks so fun. He looks like one of literally just the best Lokis of all time, if not the best Loki of all time. They just took one of the, like, a decent dial from the past, a really cool, like, fun, unique figure that used to probably be really good back then, and, you know, probably cut his points in half. I'm literally guessing he was probably like 140 something, 160 something. I don't even know, probably a lot of points back then. But they just cut him down to 85, gave him improved targeting, gave him like 4 different powers in one trait, with increasing the d6 result by +1 is really the crazy thing about it. And then gave him another power with the mind control with the +1 for each action token. Like, bro, it's just so much. And it feels so much like a Loki. These are all very Loki things to do. Sidestep, shape change, super senses, stealth with +1, mind control with potential +1, penetrating blast, prob, mystics. God, it's so good. I like him so much. He's my new favorite Loki. Again, this is a great example of legacy card. You know, just not being afraid to just really take a cool character, a cool figure from the past, and just turning it up to 11 and actually making them really worthy of this legacy card. So great job on this one. However, up next, we have another one of my all-time favorite legacy cards. This set was, I'll get into it later, but this is like so many good legacy cards in the set. And this one is one of the best, in my opinion. We got the old veteran Ultron from, was it Infinity Gauntlet? I think, like that old. Yeah, so this dude is insane. You know, 150 points. He used to be 188. So they did knock off like 38 points from him. You got 10 range triple target, 12 movement with flight, 14 energy explosion, 18 invul, and 3 damage. And that, you know, is pretty decent. You got Masters of Evil and Cosmic Energies is great. But it's really the traits that make him crazy. You got Mastermind. When Ultron uses it, friendly characters with Ultron in their name are considered adjacent. Ultron can use all standard powers other friendly characters with Ultron in their name within range can use. So that's one distinction there. Mastermind, when he uses it, friendly characters with Ultron in their name are considered adjacent. They don't have to be within range, but they do have to be within range for him to use all their powers. But then lastly, Ultron can draw lines of fire from other friendly characters with Ultron in their name. When he does, he has a maximum range of 3. They did a little bit of an errata on that just to make it more clear. I guess it seemed pretty clear to me, but so basically he can, you know, pick any Ultron, other Ultrons on the map to draw lines of fire from, and has a 3 range from them, not from himself. He still has a 10 range from himself, but when he uses it to target people through another Ultron, he only can draw line of fire, have range for 3 squares. I don't know. Anyway, it's really cool because you can just sit in your start area and, you know, take powers from everything within 10 squares of him. He can mastermind on stuff across the map. He can shoot through other drones across the map. He just sits there and sends drones out to do all of his bidding. It's pretty crazy because that's 150 points of your team. They're almost never going to score unless you manage to run out of drones. If they manage to KO all of your drones, then he might be in trouble. But you got leadership. When Ultron uses it and succeeds, after resolutions, he may generate a number 13 Ultron drone. So, you know, he can just keep spamming out more drones whenever he succeeds at his leadership. And then he's got another trait that he can reduce penetrating damage. And once per turn, when another friendly character with Ultron in their name is KO'd, you can roll a d6 and heal him equal to half the result. So you kind of do want to just get him out there in the fight anyway, let him take a hit, and then mastermind it onto a drone. Then you let the drone die, then you heal him back up to full, and you're kind of giving them a few points here and there, but you're letting him take a hit and just healing him back up that way. So they're really never going to get through him in the standard 45, 55-ish minute rounds that Heroclix usually have. So I think that's really one of the greatest things. He's so hard to actually get through. And if you play him with another, the rare Ultron in a set that also can be spamming out Ultron drones, yeah, it's a crazy team up because he gets a lot of really good powers from that Ultron, and you got two of them spamming out drones every turn potentially. So it's really just too much for a lot of teams to get through. And one of those drones starts with mind control. So giving him, he's got a 10 range triple target mind control with 14 attack. Which is insane. You can be, mind controlling your opponent's team all the way across the map, messing them up. He could be using energy explosion. I want to give him pumpkin bombs, actually. So he does a 3 damage energy explosion, I think would be pretty good. You could also just give him, shot gauntlets. So when he does hit, he's knocking people back. That's okay too. Actually, what you really want to do is give other Ultrons equipment that give them powers, like giving them Force Blast or shot gauntlets, giving them Dark Hold so they can use that Whip, Perplex, or Prob. He can, then use that from them also, because he can use any powers that any other Ultron can use. So the more stuff you stack on other Ultrons, the more stuff he can use. The more drones and other Ultrons you put out there, the more stuff he can use. He really just gets more and more insane with the more Ultrons you pump out. And yeah, I love him a lot. He's so good. This is one of the most perfect representations of Ultron we have in the game right now. Because he just feels like that full-on, Age of Ultron, Mastermind Ultron, just throwing a huge army of drones at you, has all these crazy powers because he can just, basically swap bodies at will most of the time. Can reduce penetrating, can mastermind onto his other drones, whatever. So yeah, this guy is freaking awesome. I love playing him. He's super fun. And another amazing job on this legacy card for sure. All right, last but not least, we've got General Thunderbolt Ross here from the Incredible Hulk set. This one's kind of the head scratcher of the set. I'm kind of surprised that they made this one a legacy card of all things. Now, if they were going to do any General Thunderbolt Ross, it was probably going to be this one. I'm just kind of surprised that they did any of them at all, I guess. But we'll take a look at what he can do now. So he's coming in at 45 points. He's got Shield Team ability, which is kind of nice. You got free, once per game, generate a Red Hulk bystander and place General Thunderbolt Ross on his card. This game, when the Red Hulk bystander is KO'd, KO General Thunderbolt Ross. That would be great if he actually started with that. He only gets that on the last 2 clicks of his dial. So either you use the lava terrain that came in the Iron Man play-at-home kit and sit him on it for 2 turns, so he takes 2 damage and gets to that, and then you can run him up there and take a free action to make the pog. Or you just kind of have to hope that he takes 1 hit exactly, lands on that power, and then your opponent somehow doesn't finish him off so that he can take that free action to pop out Red Hulk. But otherwise, he does have Call in the Airstrike, which is on his last 3 clicks of his special attack power there. When this click is revealed by an opposing attack after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to the attacking character and all opposing characters adjacent to the attacker. That's actually pretty nice. It's like a kind of extra version of Mystics. Let's say somebody does run up and punch him, and he takes 3, -1 from the toughness, so he takes 2. Boom, boom. That's for every time this is revealed. So when this is revealed, they're dealt 1 penetrating, and any opposing characters adjacent to them are also dealt a penetrating. So let's say somebody runs up and shoots him for 3, boom, boom. Now they take 2 penetrating, and anybody adjacent to them takes 2 penetrating. So that's pretty nice. Now, I think it will be separate instances, like 1 pen, 1 pen. So if they have an ability to reduce penetrating damage, they're going to reduce it no matter what. But that's not very common except for Invincible. So pretty cool nonetheless. You could deal a lot of damage back that way. But yeah, he's got leadership and mid-dial there. He gets some enhancement, which all is nice with the shield team ability as well. For 45 points, though, there's probably better shield team abilities and leaderships and stuff like that out there, enhancements. And like I said, it is kind of hard to pull off getting out that Red Hulk. But if you do manage it, he does have a 10 movement with charge, 11 attack with poison, 18 impervious, and 3 damage with outwit. So for 45 points, dropping that guy for free is pretty great, because then he could poison and, you know, outwit something, poison, charge, whatever. Pretty cool. It's just a little too hard to really get out reliably. But regardless, he's all right. I just wish it was a little easier to get out that Red Hulk token. But anyway, that is it for all of the legacy cards, you guys. And that is a wrap for the whole Avengers 60th set. I will say overall, he's probably my least favorite of all of the legacy cards. There's a lot of good ones. I think they really did an amazing job on all the legacy cards of this set. You know, there's a few here and there that are like, why'd you do that? That could have been better. But I feel like there's so many that they just took what it was and improved upon it. So I think overall, this is one of my favorite sets of legacy cards. I think Avengers 60th overall is a great set itself. You know, lots of good stuff in the commons, some good stuff in the uncommons, some really amazing stuff in the rares. Some really cool super rares, and the chases are all amazing, like almost all top tier meta pieces themselves. And you got a really cool ultra chase and 3 play at home kits and some other cool stuff. So yeah, if you guys have been sticking with me throughout this entire review, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you smash the like button. It does help me out a lot. And don't forget to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. And if you guys would like to help support the channel even more, of course, check the links in the description for the Patreon, where you can see your name here in the credits, as well as some other amazing stuff. There's also that YouTube membership join button that is the same for as little as $1 a month. You can also be entered into our monthly giveaways, so check that out if it interests you. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.